Hey, good morning, Robert.
Hey, how's it going?
We're here again. And they're getting closer and closer in the room back there. They're putting in the flooring today, like the concrete and all that crap they're
Hmm.
putting in there today. How was your weekend?
Oh, it's good. Yeah, great Christmas party with you guys, and just relaxed and chill at the beach, or as you were, Joshua Tree for the remaining portion of the
I've
weekend.
never been to Joshua Tree.
Oh, you got to go. Secluded, it's out there in the desert. I mean,
What do you like? Do you rent a place out there, or what do you do?
yeah, yeah, Airbnb. Yeah,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
super cheap. It's like what for 2 days, $200.
Yeah,
Not bad.
yeah. Hey, I want to there's some things from the U.S. Gold Bureau I want to cover, and one of it they're talking about Jerome Powell in his recent speech last week or in his recent speech where Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell he really iterated that time and again that one of the policy goals of the Fed was to lower inflation by slowing wage increases for many Americans. And mind you, part of the reason we have inflation is the massive wage increases given to the banking industry through the years in the form of quantitative easing and various bank bailouts received during the last decade. And implied in the messaging is that it's okay for the Fed to give massive amounts of money to wealthy banking industry to create and stoke either one inflation. But it's considered unacceptable for the masses to receive more money in the form of higher wages to help mitigate the damages to themselves that are caused by the Fed induced inflation. And demand destruction is a phase or phrase that's commonly used to describe the process whereby inflation is tamed by making sure that people don't have enough money to buy what they need and what they want. And demand destruction sounds banal compared to using a phrase like putting average Americans in a precarious financial position whereby they can barely pay their bills. But that's what demand destruction is. And in short, it's code for destruction of lower and middle class American finances and not to leave the wealthy untouched. Growth in the luxury sector is expected to slow dramatically next year due to inflation. But there is a large disparity between growing growth slowing in the luxury good markets and life slowing for millions of Americans struggling to pay $6.59 for a dozen eggs or a gallon of milk. And that is what one of my clients actually told me just the other day, what they had to pay at the local grocery store. And perhaps you are seeing the same similar things where you live and shop. Rob,
Yeah.
this is what I'm talking about. And I've been saying this now for a long time that many governments, including the United States, go so far as to create inflation. And the reason that they manufacture or create this inflation is it's a way for them to depreciate the debt and destroy the value of our dollar, and they do it by a process called hyperinflation. Well, that's exactly what they're talking about here. People, $6.59 for a gallon of milk or a dozen of eggs, that's inflation.
Yeah, I mean, eggs are up almost 200%. Milk's up almost 150%. It's scary to me to think that, if I'm a retiree, right, and if I have retirement savings in the market or deposit savings, I'm basically gambling away my life savings by betting on the Fed or betting against the Fed. That's not a way to live, right?
No way.
I mean, basically, decisions are made based upon which way the Fed moves. That means you have no control. That means you're gambling your life savings on if the Fed goes left or if the Fed goes right. That's why you need gold. right, to have that control.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Enter gold and enter silver, and this is where gold and silver can actually play a role and actually like save the day, like Superman. He comes and saves the day if you're in trouble. Well, many American retirees right now are looking forward to actually receiving the highest COLA adjustment to their pensions in over 40 years. But the extra 8.7%, I believe it is, increase that they're going to see in their checks next month won't help cover the ongoing 7.1% inflation that is actually in effect today. So this COLA, the COLA adjustments, they're backwards, won't be received until January of next year. So by then, 3 months of additional price increases will have already occurred, and more price increases are likely overcome the course of 2023, and retirees won't see another COLA increase until January of 2024. So this is the part of the reason why owning gold and silver, often provides greater inflation protection than COLA provisions have through the years. And inflation has now spiked at a level that we have not seen since the early 1980s. And it's been a while since gold and silver were actually issued as a part of the money supply here in the United States. And the last time that silver quarters were used, you know when that was? 1964.
Wow.
I was 4 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and when the minimum wage was $1.25 an hour.
You remember that?
Yeah, well, I remember it was like 2 something, and I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
But I do remember like when it was like 210, 250, 275.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think what's the
But you know what? People got by.
I was gonna ask, how did they survive on that?
Well, we didn't have inflation. I mean, look at these numbers right now. Let me tell you something. Like the COLA minimum wage is another mechanism that is created to help consumers with inflation. And also, like the COLA, minimum wage has not been as successful as gold and silver at offering inflation protection to actually average Americans. So with many still fighting for the minimum wage to rise to $15 per hour nationwide, it would be better to have a minimum wage at $1.25 paid in 5 silver quarters. Think about that. Right? Because the silver content in those quarters equals about 1.1 ounces. Think about it. So in those 5 silver quarters, the silver content in those quarters actually equal 1.1 ounces. So even melt value would be worth about $26 today. So in other words, an hour's worth of minimum wage work paid in silver 48 years ago is almost worth double what an hour of a minimum wage work would buy today when paid in dollars.
That's terrific.
Right?
That goes to show what inflation, what the Fed has created. A fucking monster, man.
I mean, think about it. $1.25. It's crazy. And I'll tell you another one. Real estate, another sector of the economy that is wreaking havoc right now on the finances of many of us, in the realm of real estate. So residential real estate is coming down in value in many, many areas right now, with recent home buyers in many markets underwater on mortgages already. But this is only the latest in a series of problems for the sector. Remember, mortgage rates went down, real estate went up. Everybody was buying because the mortgage rates were so low. Now mortgage rates are up, the real estate is down. These people are now swimming. They're swimming in mortgage payments. So here we go. As people lose their homes during the great financial crisis, many problems for that sector. Right now we're seeing raising rental rates for those seeking housing, while also they're bundling and securitizing these real estate investments to sell to other investors in the marketplace. And pension funds, let's talk about that. Well, they're among the largest buyers of real estate securities, and those funds are now great at risk of loss. So ironically, look out the window. Look at to our friends, our allies over there in the UK, over in London. They're barely making their pension funds over there, and that's not been going on just for a few weeks. That's been going on now for for a while, and they barely get by making those pension funds. So ironically, many are struggling right now to pay rent, and these properties might also have to help bail out the pension fund owners if the federal government widens the pension bailout scheme further.
Yeah, that's what Robert Kiyosaki was saying. That
Exactly. That's where I got a lot of this from.
yeah, Robert Kiyosaki's been saying that. Hey, listen, this is going to be one of the biggest crises. So it's going to affect the stock market. It's going to affect pension funds. It's going to create an inflation tsunami. And um, you know, us, including a lot of other sources like Robert Kiyosaki, Paul Tudor Jones, and Peter Schiff, we're really right now ringing the alarm bell. Like this is like super crucial. It's very important that people pay attention. They really focus and listen to what you're saying. It's
So
huge.
true. So true. And let me tell you, add to this trend in corporate America to require more employees to actually return to the office, which some believe is more related to commercial real estate values than workers' productivity. So with occupancy rates down to, listen to this, 65% from 95% pre-pandemic, commercial real estate portfolios right now are being decimated at the same time that the financing is up for renewal. So owning unproductive real estate when interest rates are low is one thing, but with rates on the rise and property foreclosures won't be far behind it. So returning people to the office might not be enough to salvage some of these property deals. And in the meantime, Rob, you've got Americans still having to navigate the minefields that exist in the American economy today. And higher enduring inflation, higher interest rates that make everything more expensive, higher taxes to pay for the higher interest rates, and a Federal Reserve intent on slowing down wage increases all spell trouble for all of us Americans consumers in these days. And like the Bernstein Bears of old, that might be useful in bringing back some normalcy and stability to childhood, gold and silver stand ready to bring back some normalcy and stability to our financial and our finances. So give us a call at 800-753-8534, 800-753-8534. When you call into that number, that's a call center because we're always on the lines here. And so they'll definitely connect you to one of our brokers, or you can give me a call direct. No, Romeo, it ain't time to go. You can give me a call direct at 323-380-5485. Or Rob, you want to punch your number in real quick?
Yeah, 213-466-1283.
Yeah. So, these are just some of the things that I wanted to bring out. And Rob, there's some other news that came out from Greg Hunter on his USA Watchdog, and it has to do with our good friend Martin Armstrong, who is a geopolitical psychoanalyst. And he now is saying again, listen to what he has to say. He said, legendary financial and geopolitical psychoanalyst Martin Armstrong said just before the 2022 midterm elections, well, Bubby, we're not going to go yet. He said just before the 2022 midterm elections that voter fraud and cheating will set up a very troubling 2023. And this is what Armstrong is predicting. And he even said there may not even be an election in 2024. But listen to what he has to say. And I find this very interesting. So he says that voter fraud and cheating will set up a very troubling 2023. Now, this is his prediction, y'all. This isn't happening. This is a prediction. And he is predicting that a major turning point in January of 2023. So let's wait and see if this comes true, Rob. He says in 2023, he explains that the computer. So listen, if you all don't know who Martin Armstrong is, he has a software, a computer that he set up. It's called the Socrates program. And the Socrates program is showing that January is going to be the major turning point for the year of 2023. That's just
next month.
Yeah, and not even next month.
A couple weeks away.
So we can all put this down on our calendars and we can watch. Because I follow legendary financial Martin Armstrong because everything that this guy has said, majority of it has all come true through his Socrates program. So he says that, this is what he says. He says the currencies are rallying against the dollar. And see, I've been saying this now for quite a while. I don't need a Socrates computer to figure this one out. All you got to do is see that we're in a currency war. That's what's really going on right now. But he says the currencies are rallying against the dollar. And he says, and that should go into early January. And then after that, this thing looks like death warmed over. And he says, perhaps it is the insanity of handing Patriot missiles over to Ukraine. I hope that doesn't happen. But that's what they're saying is going to happen.
I thought they already sent it.
I don't know. When they do these sort of things, who knows, right? But he says that's when the insanity of handing Patriot missiles over to the Ukraine. And he says, I know Ukraine very well. And I'm telling you, they will use them offensively and not defensively. They will use them to attack Russia. I've been saying this all along, Rob. This Zelensky, he isn't happy with just having Ukraine. He wants to take and destroy Russia as well. It's in his blood. It's in his blood. And he says, I'm telling you, they will use them offensively and not defensively, and they will use them to attack Russia. And the whole objective is to expand the war. Wow.
Pretty heavy.
And his computer goes on to say, he says that Biden administration economy is killing. He says, Armstrong says that Biden's administration economy killing policies will only increase inflation. And then in this endless nightmare, he says, in all honesty, I hope that the Republicans move to impeach Biden. This is what he's saying, all right? He says, I'm not even sure Biden is aware of all the things that are taking place. I agree. No, I agree. Okay. I mean, come on. You can't be, as far as, what they say about him and understand everything that's going around you.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up around this with my uncle.
I mean, it's clear that there's some sort of cognitive
He acts just like my uncle. My uncle at 1 minute would be there, and then the next minute he'd be gone. And I've seen this. And right now, Biden, I think, is kind of like at beginning, middle stage, right?
Yeah.
And in another year, I don't think he'll even be able to handle it. I don't know. Who's to say? But anyway, in all honesty, he says, I hope the Republicans move to impeach Biden. I'm not even sure that Biden is aware of all the things that are taking place. And it is the people behind him that are doing this. It's very true. That's why they elected him. That's why they had him come in, because they knew that they can control him. And Kamala Harris is just an idiot, and they know that they can control her too. So he says that it's the people behind him that are doing this, and they are the ones that are writing these agendas, and they are a bunch of climate zealots, and they have no idea of what they're doing. And this is getting to be insane, and I think you're going to see that January is going to be a very, very big turning point. And with the Republicans in the House, they will probably start impeachment proceedings and a lot more investigations. I sure hope so, because right now it looks like the Republicans are fighting each other. McCarthy against Tibbs up in Arizona. It's getting crazy. It's like, come on, people. Do your job.
Yeah.
That's what you're hired for. That's what our taxes are paying you for. If you've got to impeach. But they're arguing. Have you been watching? It's like they don't want McCarthy as the speaker, and then this other one doesn't want this one. And it's like everybody's just fighting to, take a bite of the cookie.
They want to be in control.
They all want to be in control. It's like,
well, they probably understand how easy it
like
is
musical
right now.
chairs. If you miss, you lose your chair.
Right. I mean,
it's
but
crazy.
To them, it's probably extremely, it looks like they could be put into a big, powerful position, right? If they're the one leading, whatever scenario they want to go ahead and conduct. I mean, they should just work together.
Well, listen to what else Armstrong says. And the reason I follow him is because he knows a lot about gold and silver too.
That's right.
And Armstrong thinks that the U.S. dollar will be going up even stronger.
That's what it looks like.
And he says gold and all other tangible, in other words, things within strength valuable, tangible assets will also go up in value, right along with the interest rates and inflation going up too. And he goes on and he says that his Socrates program on the political front, Armstrong says, keep your eyes on Arizona and the 2022 midterm election lawsuit that's going on right now. Folks, you all know there's a lawsuit with Hobbs and Lake right now that's actually going on, right? And Armstrong contends if widespread cheating is proven, notice I said if, it's proven, basically it is exposed already now in one state, then people are going to assume that election cheating is all over. And it'll be like a contagion or like the flu. If it's in one place, everyone is going to get it. And this is simply the way it is, and there is no election that is never rigged, he says. And the question is if the rigging is good enough to actually change the outcome. Wow.
He's really putting his neck out there.
He's really doing it. This is what he remember. He said if it's in one. He's saying that first of all, look, nobody is found guilty until you're found guilty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You may be found not guilty, and if you're not found not guilty, then guess what? Then you deserve to be the governor of Arizona. But if you're found where there is election fraud, and that's what he's saying here, he says, look. Basically, if it's exposed in one state, then people are going to assume that cheating, is all over the place. So it's like a contagion, right? That's what he's saying. He's not saying this is what it is. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, but they're huge what ifs, right?
Well, his Socrates programs are pretty strong. Listen to what he says. He goes on and he says the question is if the rigging is good enough to actually change the outcome. And then he goes on, he says, with the possibility of a wider Ukraine war, worldwide social unrest, worldwide, not just here, worldwide social unrest, extreme inflation, and election fraud in 2022, how is America going to fare? Armstrong says, our computers say, not he's saying the computers say, right? Well, guess what? That's what everybody uses today for the stock market, all of these sort of things. So this is a computer model that is literally saying these things. You know how we get our weather? They're computer models that tell us what the weather's going to be. And, I'll tell you what's so funny. When we were kids, Rob, they didn't know whether it was going to rain or snow the next day. We'd be like, here we go. It's going to rain. No rain.
Yeah.
But now these damn computers, they're smart.
Yeah, they're spot on.
And they know.
Yeah.
They know. So our computers say, here's what his computer said. This is what Armstrong says. He says, our computers say that nobody will believe the elections. Well, guess what? I'm already at that point. I really am.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't know.
Right.
Because, you find out that this printing company over in Arizona that was doing making these ballots and everything, turns out they're connected to the politics. It's just crazy, Yeah. And then you find the ones that are guilty, and then, you start to wonder, is this stuff real or not? But anyway, he says our computers say nobody will believe the elections. And this is what our computers show. He says we're moving into a total political chaos. And this is the fall of our great country, the United States. Our Republican form of government does not work. And he says it's too susceptible to bribery. And I would like the tree to fall in the right direction and we have a real, actual democracy. We don't live in democracies. He says that's all propaganda. A democracy would be if we decide to go to war in Russia and Ukraine and not somebody in the Biden's administration.
Yeah.
And he says the people never go for war. It's always the leaders that go for war. And he's true. We don't get a vote on war. We don't get to say it's time to go to war. We don't get to vote on that. The leaders that we elect are the ones that decide whether we go to war or not. And those are the ones that put everything in their pockets, in their bank account. I mean, Rob, we'll see. He's talking about the plot to seize Russia. That's what he's talking about. And I think Putin knows about it because just last week they started loading silos with nuclear warheads.
That's true.
You saw that?
Yeah, I did.
I saw they were like loading these huge ass missiles into these
they're just
silos.
Preparing. They're Putin.
Yeah, but they're preparing.
Aware. Yeah, they're preparing.
Right?
He's aware what's happening.
And he was talking about they were actually these Russian propagandists. They were talking about like who would get struck first, and they were talking about the UK getting struck for like London, like United Kingdom would get struck first. They're right next door to them.
That's for sure.
True, man. Then you know that it's an all-out war.
They could hit the UK, then they could hit Alaska, right? Anything's possible.
I mean, don't be surprised. I mean, Rob, think about all this. Don't be surprised. Maybe this is why Biden's bringing all these immigrants over. Maybe he's going to put them all to war. I don't know. But let me tell you, talking about that, lifting Title 42, this is something that came out over the weekend. I about fell over when I heard this. So President Trump's Title 42 executive order is about to expire now on December 21st. That's just 2 days from now. 2 days. And Joe Biden ended the Trump order that allowed the rapid expulsion of migrants at the United States-Mexican border. And the Border Patrol expects that the number of illegals is to surge this week, as this Title 42 is ended. And this is a complete suicide mission that we're witnessing in real time right now. And these record number of illegal aliens are already surging across the U.S. border. I think this is something we should have been able to vote on as well.
Right.
Should we let it come through? We're giving it to these politicians again. I think that the American people should be allowed to vote on these things, right? Well, let me tell you, on Saturday, when the Biden regime was asked about the hordes of illegal migrants that are gathering at the border, and the choice words that were used for those who want to preserve the country for their children and their grandchildren, the Biden White House reporter, Mr. Jackie Henrich, to be clear, said to be clear, listen to this, the lifting of the Title 42 public health order does not mean that the border is open. Anyone who suggests otherwise is doing the work of smugglers spreading information to make a quick buck off vulnerable migrants. They're not even pretending anymore to care about this country. It's really sad. They don't care. And these are not children that are coming in. These are grown adults from Venezuela, Colombia. These are all bad. Not everybody's bad, but a lot of these are bad people that are just lining up to get ready to do bad things, possibly, allegedly, in our country.
That's why we have border protection, border control, but it seems like it's useless now.
We don't have border protection. I mean, everything that we try to do to stop them from coming across the border, The Biden administration is just letting them come through, giving them a golden ticket.
Right.
Here, here's your sneakers, here's your trousers, here's a telephone. You got a telephone. You can actually have a telephone now. And then on top of that, we're going to give you insurance on top of that. It's insane. It's insane what they're allowing these migrants to actually to do right now. If you've got any comments, I'd love to read your comments on this as well. And, comment, Rumble, YouTube, whatever, because this platform now goes all over the place, and it's going to go even more. We're also on Twitter. I don't even know this stuff. I just have, I don't even do it. People do it for me. I don't even know how to do all that stuff. But, everything that we have coming at us right now in 2023, we skirted by on 2022, but $6.59 for a gallon of milk or a dozen eggs is ridiculous. And you and me and everyone else out there, we're all feeling this pinch. And, Christmas may be a little bit lighter this year because your dollar isn't stretching as far. Give me a call. If you want to talk to me personally, just give me a call, 323-380-5485. I'll be happy to talk to you. Anyway, I hate to be the guy that just gives out the doom and gloom. No, Romeo, we're not going yet. I hate to be the one that just gives out the doom and gloom, but somebody's got to do it, and somebody's got to let you know, because everything that they tell us is not the truth. And all you have to do is just look out your window and see what's going on. Crime has gone up. Our dollar has gotten weaker in the United States. So many things are happening right now. And it's actually affecting Goldman Sachs. I don't know if y'all heard this, but there's dark days at Goldman right now. And the vibes, according to Insider, the vibes aren't very high at Goldman Sachs these days. And on Friday, news leaked that the bank was planning to lay off up to 8% of its staff as soon as January. So here we go back into January again. And, with Goldman Sachs right now laying that many people off, there's a lot of other banks, from what I understand, that are going to start doing layoffs. Remember, we talked about this. I've talked about this for quite a while now, about massive layoffs coming to us that are like COVID, but without the COVID. It's because the economy ends up shutting itself down. This is why, a lot of people say, well, are you just selling? I'm not. Gold and silver, or any type of hard asset, even real estate, gold and silver, it's there for a reason. It's to protect you, so that when the economy goes upside down or the market goes upside down, you have something to fall back onto, and you can always exchange it for more value later on. And that's why you want to have something that you can fall back onto. And look, you don't have to be a multimillionaire to own gold and silver. People that have retirement accounts, there's a way that you can actually take a IRA or a 401k or any type of retirement plan and actually move or diversify any of those funds into another type of an IRA called a self-directed IRA. And with the self-directed IRA, what it allows you to do, tax deferred, in other words, you don't pay taxes on the investment that you're investing in, is you're able to purchase precious metals, real estate, you name it, any alternative type assets you're allowed to purchase except for diamonds. And then what you're able to do is back that IRA with that hard asset, so now that you have something to fall back onto. And then when you take your distributions, you're actually taking your distributions from your precious metals or your real estate, many, many different things. We have what we call an investment protection guide that you can actually get. And all you have to do is just either give us a call or you can just go to our website and you can actually put your information in there, and it will actually send you right then through your email. It'll send you the asset protection guide, and you can go to www.unitedgoldgroup.com, or you can again give me a call at 323-380-5485 or 800-753-8534. Hey, Rob had to run out. There was a call that came in for him. I appreciate y'all listening, tuning in to me. Like it, rumble it, whatever channel you're on, watching this show right now. In just a matter of a couple more weeks, I'll be in the new studio. Cannot wait. Hopefully, the LED wall will be done by then as well. And look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Take care, be safe, and God bless you. Romeo, you want to say?